And welcome to The Zone here. I'm Marina Morocco. Let's get you behind the scenes of all the stories we're working on in real time here, as there's a lot happening here. A busy day in the Fox 5 newsroom. Let's get to it. Time for your top 3 at 3, talking about everything from rare documents heading to the Lincoln Memorial for display to a new school bus tracking system for parents. But the big story of the day starts abroad. President Trump meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron at the G7 summit today in France. The two world leaders meeting on the first day of Group 7 summit. There is a variety of issues on the agenda. Macron opening by congratulating the president on the peace deal with Iran.
I think yesterday was signed a very important agreement, a peace deal with Iran. And it's a very important one because first it will fix the nuclear issue.
I'm very happy to say very signed, the deal's all signed. And the strait is already partially opened. As you know, they're doing a little hunting for a couple of mines that they've already found.
All right, Trump and Macron are also seeking common ground on the war in Ukraine, tackling global economic imbalances and sourcing critical minerals outside of major supplier China. Visiting fellow for National Security Institute and senior advisor for global policy at the George W. Bush President Center, Igor Kirstein, with us here to talk on that G7 and what this means. Let's talk first on this deal. Both sides are calling this a win. What do you make of it?
Well, thank you for having me on. It is less of a deal and more of a ceasefire, a temporary cessation of hostilities. I think that it doesn't solve a lot of the fundamental problems that were at the root of this conflict, but it's very good news that the Strait of Hormuz will be open, a critical international waterway, and there will be a cessation of hostilities. The G7 summit is a great opportunity to discuss, obviously, as you mentioned, not that, but the other conflict that is still ongoing, Russia's war against Ukraine. It's a brutal conflict. It's one that President Trump would like to see ended, and so do the Europeans. So there's hope they'll find some common ground on that and tackle a lot of other important issues like artificial intelligence, critical minerals, and security, things that bind these nations together. This is the 7 largest industrialized nations in the world, and others who were invited. So there's hope that those issues will be discussed and resolved in some way.
There's clearly a lot to talk about. We don't know the exact text of this so-called deal. The president's saying that after Friday, we should see the revised version because both the Iranians and the Americans are very much having, especially with the Strait of Hormuz, a very different definition of what this looks like, the reopening, if you will, and who's in charge, which I think we have seen, while uranium is a huge part of this, the Strait of Hormuz has dictated crude oil prices. It has dictated much of where we stand right now. Crude oil is going down about $80 a barrel at this hour here. What do you make of this? And do you think that you can really call one of the two parties here a clear winner?
I wouldn't go so far. This is a fast-moving situation. A lot is still yet to be resolved. I would say this is a temporary step, so time will tell. I think what I would do is broaden this problem out, not just to Iran, but a collection of nations. There's a moniker called the CRINC, the China, Russia, Iran, North Korea problem that we're facing, which is a collection of adversaries that seeks to undermine the U.S. global order. So this is a part of this. And this is going to be a generational challenge for U.S. national security. In fact, here at the Bush Institute, we've just released an initiative on it that you could see at www.bushcenter.org/CRINC on how Iran fits into that picture. So again, I would broaden this out and say this is an ongoing challenge to U.S. national security.
So outside Iran and Ukraine, what is the biggest challenge for G7? What exactly do they have to iron out?
I think technology and things like critical minerals and rare earths and artificial intelligence, these are conversations that need to be had, and allies need to agree on how to tackle these challenges. In the case of critical minerals and rare earths, on how to dramatically decrease our dependence on China, an adversarial state. In terms of artificial intelligence, how to make sure that there's appropriate controls on these technologies, as we've seen with the Anthropic news recently on their 2 leading models being added to the export control list, and how allies could come together, and these are allies, and what's called friendshore these critical technologies.
Okay. Yeah, certainly something, especially on the rare earth minerals. We saw with the tariffs how much this was a part of the conversation there with China. And we'll see what comes out of G7. As we know, the president a few hours ago just landed there. We'll keep track of it. Igor, we so appreciate some insight there. And we're going to continue to talk about that breakthrough in that conflict between the U.S. and Iran here. And topic number 2 is the two countries have reached a preliminary agreement to extend that ceasefire and reopen the critical Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil shipping route. While the deal could ease pressure on energy prices, there's major challenges that remain before a lasting peace is secured. Senior advisor at the Quincy Institute, Kelly Vlahos, with us. At least the markets seem to be reacting positively, but it's not the only time we've seen that in this back and forth here. But both sides seem to have signed or are looking to do so. Can we define a clear winner here?
I don't think so. I think you can define maybe a clear loser here. I would say the American people, and I know I'm putting myself forward with that, but what we're hearing is that we have a memorandum of understanding that would open up the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before the February 28th war. And so what we have here is an opening up at the Strait. We're letting a lot of those ships that eventually can get through and start shipping whatever they've been sitting there with, which means there'll be less disruption to the American economy and the global economy. But we can't underscore enough that it's going to take months for the economy to right itself after this war. And so we haven't seen the end of the pinch that will be on American consumers. And let's face it, the rest of the sticking points that had been plaguing this relationship are still out there. The nuclear program, the missile program, the sanctions that Iran wants lifted. So that's all to come later. So we're really back to square one, but we've spent billions of dollars waging a war to get there.
Yeah, and to your point, the American people have paid a hefty price for that in these months since. Now, Israel here woke up to the news, and it doesn't seem as though this is at all, especially what Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to see. So clearly there's a defection here between Trump and Netanyahu, even though they, according to the president, remain friends here. But they've got very different end goals. Okay, I think we're having some technical issues here with Kelly. Kelly, can you hear us? Okay, we'll try. Kelly, are you still there? All right, we've lost Kelly Vlahos with the Quincy Institute. Of course, this is huge news that we're getting today of this 60-day ceasefire, what that looks like. The president saying that on Friday he'll be releasing some of that text, and as you know, he's over.
I can hear you now, but for some reason I dropped.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I was asking you about the defection, if you will, in the goal between Israel and the United States. They woke up today hearing of this news, and very different to what Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to hear. But it seems as though the president had to do what was right for the United States, and that has nothing to do with what Israel wants to see.
I mean, you hit it right on the nail. The biggest sticking point here, aside from the nuclear issue, is how Israel is reacting to this. And from what I understand, since we don't know all the details, is that Iran expects that Israel will withdraw from Lebanon and stop bombing southern Lebanon. And in order for this to go forward, they want it to happen right away, not in 60 days, but right now. And Israel says, no, we're not doing that. This isn't about us. We will continue to see our interests. We're going to continue to fight Hezbollah. Hezbollah says that it will continue to fight as long as Israel is gobbling up territory there and remaining there. And so you have a wild card here, because if Iran says it's not going to go forward, if things don't stop in Lebanon, that produces a dead end right away. And so Trump is going to have to do some serious negotiating with Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, to make sure that he doesn't stand in the way of the U.S. ending this war.
Wow. This could be, do you think, the beginning of a fractured relationship with Israel?
I think you're seeing that right now. There have been numerous members of not only Netanyahu's political opposition, but his own government have come out and say this is a strategic failure, this particular deal that's in the works here. And they're already saying we aren't going to comply we are going to double down.
Wow.
We will go to war with Iran ourselves if we want. And so when you have those voices in the mix, it creates a lot of uncertainty. And I don't think Donald Trump is very happy with that. He's already vocalized his frustration with Benjamin Netanyahu.
I think you're right. We're going to have to wait and see what more comes of this. It seems as though at the beginning of potentially some pause here, especially for the United States, but that could spur some other issues in the Middle East. Kelly, always a pleasure to talk to you. We so appreciate it. Thank you. Let's move on to topic number 3 here. Is all cheese products tied to a St. Mary's County facility has now been recalled over Listeria concerns. The Clover Hill dairy cheese products were sold in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, as well as other states. And now the facility is voluntarily recalling all of its cheese products, at least to be safe. We've got Chief Medical Officer of overnight diagnostics firm HealthTrack RX, Dr. Steve Goldberg. And we should point out a death that was potentially considered a possibility in connection to this is now being determined was not tied to this facility here, Dr. Goldberg. So that is some positive news in this Listeria outbreak. But nonetheless, it's widespread here, given the fact that there is a massive distribution from this facility.
Absolutely, Marina. Listeria in food should not happen. And this is unfortunate. As you mentioned, we've got about 8 people sick in several states. What happened is Listeria, which is a bacteria found around animals while you're taking milk to make cheese and other products, got in the prep area. And that's unfortunate. And then it got in the food, got in the supply chain, and people got sick. So what will happen is hopefully this will not affect too many other people, but it's still ongoing.
Yeah, what can we tell people? Is there a mechanism to check? You buy a product at the grocery store, you assume it's safe, they've got sell-by dates, expiration dates, if you will. What else can one do to protect themselves, especially as it relates to Listeria? Because I imagine there's a sector of the population that's more at risk for a potential contamination.
Yes, if you're older, if you're pregnant, if you're young and you get Listeria, it can be a very, very serious problem. What you described are the right things people should do. They should check expiration date. If the food looks odd or smells differently, they should return it. And frankly, this shouldn't happen in the United States. We've got the FDA, we've got USDA, we've got the CDC that tracks things, and we've got state health departments that are hopefully protecting us. Fortunately, it's not too many people. It's about 8, a fraction of the total cases of stomach upset throughout the United States, but it still shouldn't happen. So I'm glad the local health department suspended the operating license of this manufacturer. They're going to be tracking things for a while. They'll do good and things are clean, and hopefully we'll get to a better place in the near future.
All right, we hope so. Thank you so much, Dr. Goldberg, for all that information. Stay with us here on the DMV Zone. Quick break, and we'll be right back.